still have the original,
Where is
which is
that?
it's in the
On the stage? No.
it's not on the stage. It's kind of back by the stage. But like as we start being able to use the building more, having a piano in the fellowship hall is going to be really useful. And it's not like that was a bad piano. It's a really nice little piano.
Yeah. Just not a grand. They're
Right.
baby grand.
Right.
These
Yeah.
two are baby grand.
Right.
And that,
I don't know that we could fit a grand.
well, yeah, really, it would be.
We'd have to take about 8 to 10 of these seats out.
I know it's, yeah, full grand.
Yeah.
Well, they're almost twice that size. Not,
They're,
probably not quite, but
yeah,
it's large and grand.
yeah, we'd be pushing into that road because we can't push any further this way.
True
We
that.
certainly can't push further that way.
Yeah.
So it has to go that way. Yeah.
Now, baby grand is beautiful. Well,
Yeah.
the grand would also be a bit too much.
Right. We need to like up the ceilings probably. Like we need to get some acoustic paneling in here.
That's probably true.
So, but like, no, this is phenomenal. So yeah, we've got this one, that one, the original back in the fellowship hall.
So we have three pianos now. Wow.
Okay, sorry, so I'm gonna have to change it to this is still the same composer, but it's going to be Fantasia.
Fantasia. Oh, this is still from Nausicaa Valley of the Wind?
Oh, have you watched it? Have you?
Long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a long time since I watched that one, but this I don't remember anything about the plot, but like this animation style and just like some of the scenes.
Yeah.
Oh, the Walt Disney movie.
Yeah.
Fantasia.
No,
This is different, but yeah.
yes. So the song is Fantasia
Right.
from Nausicaa.
Oh, it's not related to that movie?
No,
The animated movie?
I mean it is an animated movie, but it's a Japanese animated movie from like the 80s, I want to say, maybe early 90s. Nausicaa Valley of the Wind.
It just has the same name.
Well, Nausicaa.
Oh.
Yeah, the song is called Fantasia, but the movie's Nausicaa. I might not be pronouncing that right. I think it's Nausicaa. Okay. Morning. Morning, morning. All right. We should have the hallway up and running next week. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, yeah, if that's our biggest problem this week, it'll be a pretty good week. That's true. Okay. I was working on a script last night, and I think I had to take your name off of the script. Was it last week?
I was supposed to do it last week, but
Okay.
she got up there and did it anyway. I said, well, you get to do it next week.
Fair enough. Okay, yeah, I know I saw your name on the script for some reason. It's because I took it off. But on Debbie.
Debbie.
Okay. Got it. All right, cool. Sorry for. Sorry for.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No, probably one of the classes. Okay.
Thank goodness.
Man, the face. The face.
See if everyone's available.
Good morning.
Call out my name and of all the things.
They're moving. Back. Yeah. Yes. Because they missed West Side.
Oh, this cigar smoke is still, because he didn't have purple. It's cigar smoke. He really got into it during the war. He was sent to Buffalo. So that's why he was smoking 22. How did he go for a place?
Seriously, there's a white minivan out in our parking lot that has its door open.
Is there any money in it? My brain's a little sore. There was a lot of like process. Carol, actually.
So, this will be pre-lit.
Okay, yeah.
And so,
And then I do that.
Yep,
Yeah.
you just take this.
And then I do
Yep,
that.
and if you want to run through it, you can.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, you got it.
That's okay.
We're gonna need a new one of those soon. But that's
Is
okay.
there a way to get those things?
I believe they
Test,
did that.
test 1, 2, test.
That's better.
Yeah.
Yes, much better. Yeah.
No, they did that last week.
Okay.
I noticed that, and
Always
then I
looks
tried
like
it.
it's about to go away.
Yeah. We were having some issues with Wix. We actually got a whole new one of these. I don't know if you noticed. This is a whole new small one. Because the old one we had was having problems. So okay.
Well, you've definitely got a pitch. Everything okay?
That's looking good. That looked great. I just tested it.
Okay.
That's really high, but I think we just kind of have to let it, since it's so new, I think we might need to let it.
I just remembered Linda saying, Darren, will you check the Wix?
Yeah.
And so I knew you've tested it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
We're good there.
Good. All right.
Did we get the white van thing handled?
I think we probably need a mic.
Okay.
Like something to be announced.
Yeah.
Because Debbie announced it. But
Yeah.
I don't think it-
Debbie, did you find who had the van?
Did you find about the band? Did anybody?
Is it the white? Is it the nearby parking lot or the far parking lot? Okay. Okay. So we still have a few minutes, folks. This isn't like an official start thing, but we do have a white van with an open door in a parking lot. So if you have a white van in the parking lot, oh, do we know whose it is? Okay. I think we got it then. Never mind. Yeah, looks like we got it. Good morning. I know that's not the Mr. Rogers like chime that would play during his episodes, but kind of reminds me of it, so I do like it. So welcome to Westside Unitarian Universalist Church, where compassion leads us to work for justice and equality. I'm glad you came today, even if it was from a different door than normal. And it is my hope that you will find something here that nourishes your heart, feeds your mind, and grows your spirit. My name is Tanner Trask, and I will be your worship associate this morning. Be you a spiritual seeker, an atheist, or a theist, Westside is a community of many beliefs, genders, and sexualities, a community of diverse cultural, racial, and class backgrounds, a community of varied abilities and gifts. Some here find inspiration in the great books, others in the great outdoors, and others still in great conversations. Whoever you may be, all are welcome in our inclusive congregation. And to newcomers, welcome. At Westside, we are raising the next generation of Unitarian Universalists, and we want them to know that they are an important part of our community. Several years ago, we chose to be radically inclusive and to adopt a multi-generational worship where our services include all family members. So welcome to all children and youth of all ages. There are a number of announcements included in your order of service today. Feel free to take any of them with you that you might need for reminders this week or to share with others that didn't make it in today. There's one we've been talking about a lot, so I want to talk about it again. Betting with Love, our very cool casino night, February the 7th. And tickets are on sale now. Dana Tooley will be at the desk in our library area after the service. And all event proceeds are going to benefit Westside's Debt Free in 3 campaign. And one you're not going to need to take home for a reminder because it's today, our piano dedication after the potluck today. So we've got some fantastic new pianos. We have a wonderful old one that's still going to be with us, and all the lovely food you all brought. So hang out after the service. And for those of you joining us online or visiting us here in person today, if you're not already on our mailing list, please sign up by clicking the link at the bottom of our westsideu.org website. And for those of you here in person with us, please take a moment to make sure your devices are silenced. We'll be welcoming our minister, the Reverend Elleven, to our digital pulpit this morning. Russell continues to grapple with the most recent presidential election. He's not quite sure what words he's going to use for this Sunday's reflection, and that's a feeling that really resonates with me today. But now I invite you to take a deep breath. And from wherever you are, settle into this sacred space that we create and let us worship together as we listen to this morning's prelude, an excerpt from Prelude Opus 3, number 2 by Rachmaninoff, performed by Dr. Yuki Kumamoto, which will be part of our aforementioned piano dedication after the potluck. Our opening words today are "The Day Unwritten" by the Reverend Dr. David Breeden. Welcome to a new story. Welcome to a day unwritten. We gather to speak of possibility. We remember the losses. We celebrate the victories. We embrace the possible over than the probable, weaving a story of hope. Join us in the new story. Join us in the day unwritten. Join us in the future of possibility. And as do many Unitarian Universalist congregations, we begin our time together this morning with the lighting of our chalice. I invite Jane Hardwick, one of our pastoral care team members. You see them up here every week helping out with our joys and concerns. You see them helping out our congregation all the time. If you've ever needed help and you've gotten to talk to them before, you know exactly how good these people are at their jobs, and I really wanted to recognize them specifically today. So the chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith and represents the Unitarian Universalist Association, or UUA. The flaming chalice symbolizes the heritage of our past, the warmth of community, and the light of hope within this church today. And our chalice lighting words are a shared story by the Reverend Sandra Fees. For the stories that long to be told and retold, for the stories that long to be imagined and reimagined, for the stories that long to be envisioned and celebrated, we kindle this chalice. May its flame bring the light of different truths, different paths, and different voices, all needed to cultivate a transformative story of justice, love, and beauty. Now, our opening hymn today, and feel free to stand as able and so moved, is number 297, The Star of Truth in Your Gray Hymnal, and join our song leader today, Scott Paulson.
Behind the veiling clouds of night, but every searching eye divines some partial glimmer of its light. The certainty for which we crave, no mortal once can ever know. Uncharted waters we must brave, face whatever winds may blow. Though for safe harbor we may long, we must not let our courage fail. And though the winds of doubt grow strong, upon the trackless ocean sail. From honest doubt we shall not flee, not fetter for inquiring mind. For where our hearts of all are free, a truer faith we there shall find.
And please remain standing and join me in our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to work for justice through action, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. You may be seated. And please come forward if you are young at heart or just young of age, or would just like to have a close-up view of our Time for All Ages presented by our veritably valiant Director of Lifespan Religious Education, Nikki Kennedy. Afterward, we'll sing the children back to their seats with hymn number 16 in the Gray Hymnal, "'Tis a Gift to be Simple."
There will be a short pause. We have something very important to do. It's Nikki's birthday, so please hit it.
Thank you all. It's nice to feel the love and so appropriate for today's Time for All Ages message. Woo! Man, okay, it's going to take me a second to find my breath. Y'all caught me off guard a little bit. Okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, I'm a little, yes. So this month, we have been talking about, our theme has been story. And we've talked about how we all have stories to tell. We've talked about how we are all part of other people's stories. And we've talked about people in our history and how their story is also part of ours. And so I brought with me our Wonder Box to remind us of a few things that we have talked about this month. It started out with Legos, and we talked about how Legos, we're not playing with them today, I made that mistake before, how they connect and how we're all connected. We don't all connect the same way, but we all get to make connections. And we've talked about how it's important to know our story and to share our stories. And I used pens and pencils and crayons and paper for you guys to take time to tell your stories, to tell your story. And the last thing I have in the Wonder Box today, I don't know if you guys can see this. Can you? Yeah, you can see it on the screen. Does anybody know what this is? What is it? Not what it says. Do you know what it is? It is. Thank you very much. This represents our values. This represents our values. And can you guys tell me on the count of 3 what word is in the middle? 1, 2, 3. Love. Very good. So love is at the center. And I want you to think about this as I share a little story with you today. So Unitarian Universalist, how I'm so impressed that you knew that. Thank you for sharing. So our faith story is a love story from the very beginning. And you may think, okay, Nikki, we're at church. We're not talking about love stories at church. Well, yeah, we are. We really are. We really are. In today's world, people are telling another anti-love story, right? About some people that are less than others, about dangerous and even un-American. But we as Unitarian Universalists, we tell the story. We tell the story of love. Love that transcends boundaries and challenges and beliefs about us and them. So today, we're going to explore the story of Unitarian Universalism and how people of love, a people who put love at the center of all that they did. Once upon a time, there was a child who had been taught to live by the golden rule. Have you guys ever heard of the golden rule? Maybe? Yeah, can somebody tell me what it is? Anybody? Yes, exactly. Do unto others as you would have done unto you, right? At first, the child thought, that sounds like a pretty good idea. I mean, it would help them make many friends, so they decided they're going to stick to this rule no matter what. On the first day of school, this kid decided to make a bunch of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because those were their favorite. And they'd take them to school and they'd give them to all the kids, and it'd be a great way to make friends. So the next morning, school started, and this kiddo was happy as ever and skipped all the way to school with a bag full of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. At snack time, they handed out the sandwiches to the rest of the class. But to their surprise, some kids gave the sandwiches back. The child was so confused and hurt, but they stuck to the golden rule that said, and said to themselves, these are my favorite, and I want to treat you the way I want to be treated, so you must eat them. Well, as you can imagine, this turned into a big old argument on the first day of school, and the teacher stepped in. The teacher took the child aside and asked them why they would insist that the class all eat the exact same sandwiches. The child explained that they had decided to live by the golden rule no matter what, and they were only trying to make friends. The teacher smiled and said, I completely understand, however, those children are allergic to peanuts and would never have been able to eat those sandwiches. The child was heartbroken. This was not at all what they had wanted. The teacher, seeing how upset they got, said, I have a better idea. Have you ever heard of the platinum promise? The child shook their head. Well, let me tell you about it then, the teacher said. You are trying to live by the golden rule that tells you to treat others as you want to be treated. But the platinum promise asks us to treat people the way they would want to be treated. The child liked the sound of this and asked the children if they liked sandwiches. What about just jelly sandwiches? The truth is, they both did very much. And so the next day, the child brought in 2 plain jelly sandwiches to their friends and 1 peanut butter and jelly for themselves. So when we keep love at the center, it's not about everyone getting everything all the same all the time. It's about us knowing each other. It's about us knowing where we are, knowing what our needs are. Making the world a better place by having conversations, getting to know people, knowing what they need, knowing their strengths, getting to know who they are as a person. So my hope for you as we enter February, that especially in this place, especially with your families and with your friends, you keep love at the center and you listen with both your ears and you're in the space and you see what needs there are and how we can help. I hope you all have a great week. Thank you for celebrating my birthday with me, and I'll talk to you next week.
Happy birthday.
It's like, oh, did I?
'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in a place just right, 'twill be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning we come round right.
Good morning. I'm one of the Pastoral Care Team Associates. In our community here at Westside, we make time each week to share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person in this community has value. Members of the team can be identified wearing a Pastoral Care Team badge. Mine is in the bottom of my purse, but I do have it. Okay, please submit your joys and concerns to the team by completing one of these orange forms, which are out at the welcome desk right here, or you can email us at pastoralcare@westsideu.org, or contact any member of the team. The other current members of the team are Jane Hardwick, John Fisher, Brenda McKean, and Barbara Crotty. Would the members of the team please raise your hands so the congregation can see who you are? We share our concerns with one another, but today there were no concerns turned in. We also share our joys with one another, knowing too that joy comes into all our lives, knowing that together our voices can rise in a chorus of celebration. And when I read your name, please raise your hand or stand. Okay, the first one is from Glenda Hood. She says, I'm grateful to Westside's staff, Linda, Nikki, Yuki, and Ryan, for all the organization and planning and work they do on our behalf. Thank you. And from the Music Task Force, it is a joy to celebrate our 2 grand pianos. We enjoyed hearing Judith's piano this morning as Myron serenaded us. Please join us for potluck and our dedication immediately following at 12:30. We make space each week for musical centering, knowing the life and experience of every person matters, and together our lights shine brighter. As we hold all the joys and concerns among us, both those spoken and unspoken, let us sing together number 1053, How could anyone in the teal hymnal?
How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful? How could anyone ever tell you you were less than whole? How could anyone fail to notice that your loving is a miracle? How deeply you're connected to my soul.
Good morning. My name is Jana Kennard, and I am one of the meditation leaders here at Westside, and I will be leading our meditation this morning. I now invite you to relax your mind and body and join in a time of meditation. Today, we will begin with an introduction titled, Today is an Adventure by Reverend Bob Janice Dillon. And afterwards, our bell will sound to signal the start of a minute of silence for your own meditation, prayer, or reflection, and it will sound again at the end. Today is an adventure. Each day is an adventure. It begins with the earth turning to reveal the sun, a ball of flame almost a million miles across that we have known throughout our lives and the lives of every earth creature who has ever lived. The adventure of the day begins with the blood of life flowing through our arteries and capillaries, with the breath of life connecting us with the trees and mutual wonder and uplifting joy. And the day progresses through sorrows and disappointments, snatches of good luck, with 5-year conversations continued with old friends, and a new hello to the fellow traveler on the sidewalk. Is this not an adventure, companions? Do we not travel through time and space and through the electric galaxy of emotions swirling in the space of our minds? Is this not a desperately exciting opportunity for the world to happen and us to care about it? Is not this whole story, is not every blink of our eyes a miracle? May we be good company to one another in our questions and our journey. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
So here at Westside, we practice our UU faith in a variety of ways. One of those ways is by giving 100% of gifts to our weekly collection, unless otherwise designated, to support organizations who carry out our transcendent values of compassion, justice, and equality. Westside's plate offering for January is Community Food Bank. Community Food Bank has been in operation for more than 30 years. Helen and Arlen Voldness created a soup kitchen, Loaves and Fishes, in 1982 at Beautiful Feet Church, where it garnered its own location. When it garnered its own location, it became Metroplex Food Bank, but was destroyed by arson in 2006. Like Westside, it survived its fire and is now located in a large warehouse north of I-30. Today, Regina and Rudy Taylor run the Community Food Bank, which grew significantly under its past chair, the grandmother of Juneteenth, Opal Lee. This nonprofit provides food and other resources Monday through Thursday and helps source other smaller food pantries. According to Feeding America's most recent Map the Meal Gap study from 2022 data, Texas has the highest food insecurity in the nation. Both Texas and Tarrant County's rate exceeds 16% of their populations. Food banks are essential, as nearly 50% of folks facing hunger do not qualify for SNAP, that federal food benefit. At the Community Food Bank, we are simply people serving people, and that means all people. Please give generously as you're able. If you're giving to your stewardship pledge instead, as usual, please use the little envelopes at the bottom of the bowl as it gets passed. And now let us enjoy our musical offering, Fantasia for Nausicaa by Joe Hisaishi, and performed by Yuki. We thank you so much for putting into practice the spiritual virtue of generosity. Our giving connects us to the wider web of our community. And thank you for also for the members, for keeping your stewardship commitment current to keep our congregation's important work going. Now, today's responsive reading is number 464 in the Gray Hymnal, written by Judy Chicago, titled And Then. readings are kind of in the back section of the book. This is 464. I will be reading the regular text, so I'll start, and then you will all join Scott in reading the italicized text. And then all that has divided us will merge.
And then compassion will be wedded to power.
And then softness will come to a world that is harsh and unkind.
And then both men and women will be gentle.
And then both men and women will be strong.
And then no person will be subjected to another's will.
And then all will be rich and free and varied.
And then the greed of some will give way to the needs of many.
And then all will share equally in the earth's abundance.
And then all will care for the sick and the weak and the old.
And then all will nourish the young.
And then all will cherish life's creatures.
And then all will live in harmony with each other and the earth.
And then everywhere will be called Eden once again.
And we will now invite our minister, Dr. Russell Elleven, to our digital pulpit.
Hello, my friends. It's good to be with you again today, albeit virtually. I hope you're all doing well, and I hope you're enjoying being with your Westside community this Sunday morning. My reflection description for this Sunday's service noted that I've had some difficulty finding the right words these days. Even as privileged as I am, the world feels less safe. The things I believed to be important and shared by the majority of Americans were not reflected in the recent election. And it seems like we're headed as a nation in a direction that does not appreciate my faith, traditions, religious values. Words are important. I place great value in words because they communicate to others what is going on inside and outside of us. Words are sometimes accidentally misused and at other times misused on purpose. But words help us understand what is going on if we take the time to listen. I often use our gray hymnal for readings and hymns, even unfamiliar hymns, because I believe the words are important for us to hear. That as a faith tradition, we have compiled these things that represent our values and views. Singing the Living Tradition was first printed more than 30 years ago, and it is an imperfect institutional representation of what we are as a religion. I find it very valuable. Because I'm a reader, so sometimes what I found in the hymnal was more profound than anything I heard from the pulpit that particular day. I also understand that some people find it difficult to read or sing out loud in public, and I appreciate that. But if you have a chance today, reread our responsive reading before you leave the church today. Those words, I believe, are important. As some of you know, I recently celebrated my 60th birthday in Las Vegas. My spouse, Gail, and I were joined by two dear friends we've known for a long time. Most of our time was spent looking at these hotels and casinos or finding restaurants to dine at before or after Cirque du Soleil shows. I generally don't make much of a fuss about my birthday. Not to be morbid, but none of us know when the end will come. And for me, birthdays are often just a reminder that the end is now closer than ever before. So I don't generally tell people when my birthday is or what I do when I celebrate, but for whatever reason, 60 seemed like kind of a big deal. And I even had more fun than I expected celebrating with my spouse and friends. I'm reminded of one of my favorite philosophers, George Carlin, who did a bit on aging. I believe Carlin was an astute observer of human behavior. But as I age, the right words become more difficult to sometimes find. Maybe you've experienced this too when a name or a location or something else familiar did not come as readily to mind as it once did. It's a normal part of aging, I'm told. Nothing to be alarmed about right now, but it is enough to just give me pause. Now, I'm not going to try to imitate Carlin because I can't. But here's what he said about aging. He said, "Do you realize that the only time in our lives when we like to get old is when we're kids? If you're less than 10 years old, you're so excited about aging that you think in fractions. How old are you? I'm 4.5. You're 4.5 going on 5. You get into your teens and you simply jump to the next number. How old are you? I'm going to be 16. You could be 12, but you're going to be 16 eventually. Then the great day arrives when you become 21. Even the words sound like a ceremony. You become 21. Then you turn 30. What happened there? Makes you sound like bad milk. He turned. We had to throw him out. What's wrong? What changed? You become 21, you turn 30, you're pushing 40, you reach 50, then you make it to 60. By then you've built up so much speed, you hit 70, and after that, it's a day-by-day thing. You hit Wednesday. You get into your 80s, you hit lunch, you hit 4:30, and it doesn't end there. Into the 90s, you start going backward. I was just 92. Then a strange thing happens. If you make it to over 100, you become a little kid again. I'm 100.5. Well, I've made it to 60, and I guess we'll see where it goes from here. But I was telling one of my friends who joined me at my birthday celebration how it doesn't seem like the two major political parties in the United States use the word freedom in the same way. Simplistically, one group seems to think of freedom as government giving people as much opportunity for success in life as practically possible. The other party seems to believe that freedom is based on as little governmental regulation and involvement as possible. So this friend on my birthday trip introduced me to a recently released book titled On Freedom by Timothy Snyder. You may be familiar with his best-selling book titled On Tyranny, which was published in 2017. Now, I believe Snyder is brilliant. He was educated at Brown and Oxford. He is a history professor at Yale and is a permanent fellow at the Institute for Human Sciences in Vienna. I will admit that his book on freedom is densely written and not always easy to understand. But I'm so glad my friend recommended it to me. I read it on the plane and during downtime in Las Vegas. And it seems to me that words like tyranny and freedom, examined by Snyder, are exactly the kinds of examples of words being defined differently these days by different people. Today, I just want to offer 3 things from Snyder's book that seem relevant to us as we attempt to navigate this new reality where finding, using, and agreeing on definitions of words has become more difficult. These lessons are the importance of democratic institutions, the dangers of passivity, and the need to live with others in mind. Now, Snyder begins by talking about the critical role democratic institutions play in securing freedom. In his view, freedom is not just about individual rights, but about the systems that protect and enforce those rights. Democracy, he says, with its checks and balances, its protections for free speech, its respect for the rule of law, is foundational for freedom. When democratic institutions are made weak or are undermined, individual freedoms are the first to suffer. Unitarian Universalists typically believe that every person has the right to shape their own destiny in a just society. But as Snyder reminds us, that society must be one where the rule of law, free expression, and democratic processes are not taken for granted. In fact, they must be nurtured and protected. It seems to me we've recently witnessed a disturbing erosion of democratic norms, not just in this country, but in others around the world. Whether through authoritarian leaders consolidating power or through the steady undermining of public trust in institutions, we have seen how fragile freedom can be. Snyder urges us to recognize that freedom is not automatic and it must be actively safeguarded by those who care about it. And I know many of you care about it and feel this way too. But we are called to be active participants in the preservation of democracy. This is not just a matter of voting, though that, of course, is important. It's also about standing up for truth, protecting civil liberties, and ensuring that our government reflects the diverse and inclusive values we hold dear. Freedom is not a static state. It takes work, engagement, and vigilance. Snyder also explores the danger of passivity in his book. He writes that freedom is often eroded not by large dramatic events, but by small, everyday choices to do nothing. It's the refusal to take action in the face of injustice, the passive acceptance of the status quo, or the denial that threats to freedom are even happening. Snyder shows how totalitarian regimes did not always come to power overnight. Instead, they grew in influence when individuals failed to speak out, when communities grew complacent, or when people thought that the loss of freedoms would not affect them personally. This apathy, this unwillingness to engage in the struggles of the moment can often be as dangerous as direct authoritarian action. Snyder's message is clear. Freedom cannot survive without action. In our own lives, this may mean speaking out when we see discrimination, resisting systems of oppression, or simply refusing to accept the idea that someone else will handle it. Each of us has a role to play in keeping the flame of freedom alive. And it's certainly easy to become overwhelmed by the enormity of the world's problems, to feel the weight of it all is too much for one person to bear. But we also believe in the power of individual and collective action. We believe that small acts of justice, compassion, and resistance add up to create meaningful change. And Snyder finally reminds us that freedom is not only about individual autonomy. It is also about the responsibility we have to others. Freedom, he writes, is only truly sustainable when it is lived in community, when we recognize that our freedom is interconnected with the freedom of others. Freedom is not, says Snyder, a private affair. Our freedom, he says, is not an isolated pursuit. It is bound up with the freedom of those around us. To live as a free people, we must live with others in mind. Snyder's warning is that when we prioritize our own freedom over the freedom of others, we risk undermining the very thing we seek to protect. We can't claim to be free while ignoring the suffering of marginalized communities, while continuing systems of inequality, or while not considering the collective good. This asks us to think about freedom not just as an individual right, but as a shared responsibility. How can we ensure that all people, particularly the most vulnerable among us, are free? How can we create a society where freedom is experienced equally by all, regardless of an individual's background. Again, in practical terms, this may involve advocating for policies that promote equity, working to dismantle those systems of oppression, and actively supporting those whose voices are often silenced. It requires us to look beyond our own experiences and understand how our actions and choices impact the broader community. And if you're like me, you can't help but think of the poem written by the German theologian Martin Niemöller that begins, "First they came for the communists, and I did not speak out." I'm not sure any of these three ideas from Snyder's book are earth-shattering revelations. The things he suggests we do are things we often talk about as a church. But Snyder challenges us to think deeply about the cost of freedom and the responsibility it entails. We will need to be vigilant in defending democratic institutions. We will need to refuse passivity in the face of injustice. And we will need to live our freedom in community with others. It doesn't need to be a solitary pursuit. In fact, it is something that thrives when we lift each other up and work for a world where justice and compassion are the rule, not the exception. And that freedom, like all things worth having, requires effort, sacrifice, and care. I'll remind you again to keep in mind that you don't have to do this work alone. I've mentioned this before recently, but it bears repeating. I encourage you to get involved with the Texas Unitarian Universalist Justice Ministry. The things Snyder is suggesting we need to do are things being done by the Texas UU Justice Ministry. They understand the importance of democratic institutions, the dangers of passivity, and the need to live with others in mind. I hope you'll get in touch with Cindy Fountain or any of the others that are involved with this organization so that you can be connected too. And may we be inspired to take action, to live in solidarity, and to build a future where freedom is not just a privilege for the few, but a shared gift for all. As we rise in body or spirit and join together in the singing of our closing hymn, number 148, Let Freedom Span Both East and West.
Let freedom span both east and west, and love both south and north, in universal fellowship throughout the whole wide earth. In beauty, wonder everywhere, let us communion find. Compassion be the golden cord, close binding humankind. Beyond all barriers of race, of color, caste, or creed, let us make friendship, human worth, our common faith and deed. Then east and west will meet with share, and south shall build with north. One human commonwealth of good throughout the whole wide
closing words today are The Stories We Create by Reverend Rod Richards. May the stories we create honor our ancestors, prove worthy of our children and our children's children, and tell of connection and compassion in this present moment. The chalice is now extinguished, but its light lives on in the minds and hearts and souls of each of you. Carry that flame with you as you leave this place and share it with those you know, with those you love, and most especially with those you have yet to meet. And finally, join me in our congregational closing. Go in peace, seeking justice. Go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. Go in the peace that is created when, together, we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace. May it be so, blessed be, and amen. Thank you all so much for being here. Potluck's in the back.